All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to use the job tracking spreadsheet. I originally had another one that was basically just the projected, but then after talking to a bunch of owners, I realized that I need to go a little bit more advanced so that way you could really see what area of your business is basically screwing you up. So, and before I go any further, there's a million different ways to track this kind of stuff. There's a million different ways how to price your jobs and everything else. I'm just giving you my way. This is the easiest way I can think of, especially for new business owners that are just starting out. Okay. So basically anything in yellow, you're going to be filling out. Anything that's not yellow, you are leaving alone. Okay. That'll calculate everything else for you. So what you're going to do is put in your business expenses, whatever they happen to be. If it's, $50,000, put in $50,000. Okay. And then you're going to put in whatever your salary goal is. So like how much you want to make from this business, right? And then you'll put in how many crews that you have running. Okay. So based on that, it's going to figure out how much that you need to make per day. The way that it figures out is it's taking your business expenses plus your salary, but then it's adding 25% to your salary to cover taxes. Okay. And then for number of days, it's figuring that you're working 4 days a week. So it's 208 days a year. Okay. And so it comes up with this number. Okay. So then what you're going to do is go down here and you're going to put in the customer's name. You're going to put in what kind of material. So let's say it's chain link. Okay. And here's where you're going to figure everything out. Okay. So once you figure out your pricing and before you give the pricing to the customer, you're going to enter it in here. So if you find out that you think the job is going to be, you're going to be charging $7,500, the materials are roughly just say $4,000 and the labor is going to be $1,000. Okay. And then you want to figure out how many days. So you're like, it could be 2, but it might be 3, right? Whenever you think it may be 3 days, put 3 days instead. Okay. Because you'd rather be surprised that you're making enough money or making more money than you thought than on the other side. It's like, oh my God, I thought it was going to be 2 days and now it's 3 days and now I'm not really making any money, right? So once you put in this information, then it's either going to be green or blue, or green or red. If it's green, then you're good to go. You can send out the price. If it's red, then you have to readjust this thing, right? So in this case, it is green, so you are good to go. So you can post that. You're making enough money. Everything's great. Okay. So now let's pretend that the job is finished and you're tracking everything. Well, you found out that the job, instead of being 3 days, it actually turned into 4 because you were supposed to be there, but you weren't able to be there because you were doing quotes or answering phone calls or whatever. So it took them 4 days, or there was root problems or, whatever. Okay. The total job, it still stayed at 7,500. But this job, you were booked out, like just say, 2 months. And by the time you installed the job and, ordered the materials, instead of being $7,500, instead of $4,000, it was actually $4,500. Okay. And let's say for labor, because now it was 4 days instead of 3, instead of paying $1,000 in labor, you spent $1,300 in labor. Okay. So what you see right away is anytime it took more time or it cost you more, it turns red. Okay. And you can also see in here that now you're only making $425 a day. Okay. So that's a problem. You're nowhere near your goal of $691. Okay. So that was the problem. Well, you figured that you're making enough, right? Everything's good, but then you figured it's not. Well, then next to it, what you can do is, you don't even really have to write anything. If you you look here, it's like, oh crap, I screwed up. I didn't make enough money. Why didn't I make enough money? Well, everything in red is what screwed up. Number of days. It took an extra day. It took, you spent more on materials. You spent more on labor, right? And what happens is you can start to look at this. And if you have, 20, 30 jobs in here, what you're going to start noticing is that the red is going to be in certain columns. So if it's mostly red in this first column, well, then you're not doing a good job projecting how long it takes. So then you have to look and, take a hard look at yourself and maybe I'm just being too optimistic. So then it's like, well, if it thinks it's, if you start saying like this job was like originally it could have been, 2 or 3 days and you're like, worst case, let me just do 3 days. Well, maybe it's like you have to do worst case plus an extra day just to be on the safe side going forward, right? So then what would that look like here? Okay. So if you knew every time that it was going to be 4 days, then you're not making enough money. So then you would start adjusting it. So maybe I need to charge $8,000. Okay, I'm at 750. That's more than enough. Maybe I don't need to charge 8,000. Maybe it's 7,800. So okay, we're at $700 instead of 691. We're good to go. We can send this thing out, right? So at least now going forward, like imagine if everything else was the same. Maybe it was 7,800 for that. The materials cost you 4,500, and like this was still 1,000. But then now at least you made 575 instead of 433. You're making an extra $100 a day, so it's 500 or 400 a week, and then $20,000 a year. So this is how you use the program. What's going to happen is when you go to use it, when you click the link in the description, as long as you're logged into Google, you're going to see this to make a copy. So all you do is you make a copy, and then you can basically adjust this, do whatever you want to your thing, right? And then when you go back into the original sheet, you didn't screw it up for anyone else. Okay. So, and then if you happen to accidentally touch something like this, oh, actually, I'm the only one that has the ability to change it. But it won't let you change the stuff. So anyway, hopefully this helps you out. If you like this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have a buddy that's in contracting as well and doesn't really know his numbers because he's just starting out or just never took the time to learn, share this video with them. It's really going to help, because at the end of the day, I don't want you being like me in the first few years of business where you're working all these hours and you're too scared to you're working all these hours. There's no money in your bank account, and you don't even want to know what the hell is happening. So you're like, I need to book more jobs. I need to book more. But what happens is if you keep on doing that without checking your numbers, well, then you're just basically putting yourself further and further in debt. Okay. Because again, like if you need to make $691 a day, but you're only making $575, well, what's going to happen is if you end up booking more and more jobs at a much more rapid pace, well, you're just going to keep on making $575, which that's a problem. That's about $120 less than you need to make per day. And if you're doing it at a rapid pace, well, you're going to end up being short like $20,000 this year, right? The other thing that's very important is do not wait and do like 30 of these at once. Like don't wait till the end of the month and wait till you're slow to start putting in this information. It has to be done every single job, okay? Especially with COVID and the constant prices increases and everything else, you really need to check this stuff. It's much more difficult to have a better handle on your numbers now than it was before because of the material prices. And then when you're a new business owner, again, you don't really know how long stuff is going to take. So then what ends up happening is you're constantly, spending more time than you think. Well, at least if you're tracking at every job, you're going to see like a trend. And if the trend is constantly in here where it's taking more time, well, then going forward, you have to adjust the number of days. If it's the material that's a problem and you see, well, my days are correct, but my material price keeps on going up and up and up. What I do is whenever we get a price increase from the supplier, especially now, I put in that plus 5%. The reason for that is if we're booked out, just say a month, and we know that we're going to get a price increase almost every 4 to 6 weeks. Well, if I add an extra 5%, well, then by the time we actually do the job, then even with that increase, I'm paying about what I thought I would pay, or maybe just slightly more. But it's a hell of a lot better than thinking you're paying $4,000, but then the materials are really $4,500. It's better to be proactive and think you're going to spend $4,400 because you added to 5%, and instead you spend an extra $100. $100 isn't bad, but if it's constantly like $500, you're doing 3 jobs a week, that's $1,500. That's $75,000 less. Like that's your salary right there, right? So anyway, so track every day. Consistency is key. And if you have any questions, please put in the description. And like I said, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. So have a great day. See you.